Is it okay to el bango your maid? Okay, let's talk about this. I've discussed this story in the past, in a past video, but now we're going to get into much more detail on this story. So, this was a girl living in the mountains surrounding CDO. She came from a village and had a family of two parents, and she had two siblings. The dad was a farm laborer. He was making about 200 or 300 pesos a day working on the farm. Maybe $5 US or so. So this particular girl was a dropout of school. I'm not sure exactly what age she dropped out, but she did drop out. So after dropping out of school, she was just helping her parents earn some pesos by being a farm laborer. But she didn't like, she didn't like the life of working on the farm all day. It wasn't about like the small earnings she was getting. She just didn't like farm work. She didn't like being in the heat all day. So what happened was her friend was living in CDO, Cagayan de Oro, as a nanny. And this girl also dropped out of school. So she tells the girl in the mountains to come down to CDO and look for work. So anyway, she was very ready for a change. So she came down to CDO to find a job. I believe that the family of the friend, so the friend who's in CDO who invited the girl, this family allowed her to stay with them until she found a job in the city, okay? So they knew the situation. So they were just trying to help out. So anyway, she arrived in CDO and her friend were both sitting down in a 7-Eleven, and this American guy was also in the 7-Eleven. He was sitting down, taking a break from the heat. He just happened to be in there at the same time. This girl was in there. So they're talking a bit. The American initiated the conversation. And so this American guy says, "What are you doing in CDO?" She says she's looking for a job. And he says, "Why don't you work for me?" She says, "Okay," with a big smile on her face. And later that same day, she goes to his house. So now this girl knew the guy was single. She knew this. She knew he was living alone, but she was a bit surprised the apartment was so small. Now, the guy was paying about 7,000 pesos a month for this one-bedroom apartment. So when she arrived at the apartment, he told her what he needs her to take care of, and it was basically all the things he didn't like doing. And so on top of that, she was sleeping on the sofa. Okay, so days went by and things were going well. The guy had no complaints. She picked up on things. She knew what to do as far as shopping and cooking. So after about a week went by, they had just finished dinner while sitting on the sofa. So they were sitting on the sofa having dinner. They just finished, and he says to the girl, "Do you like S?" You know what I'm saying? So the girl says, "Yes." He says, "Have you ever done it before?" And she says, "I had a boyfriend before." So before they even washed the dishes, they walked into his bedroom. So this is how he described it. Okay, so the girl, when they walked into the bedroom, the girl just sort of pulled down her pants. Didn't take off her shirt. Kept her shirt on. She just pulled down her pants and lay in the bed. He did the same thing, and they didn't even touch lips. He just put it in. Okay, now if you ask me, it's kind of awkward. Okay, but hey, the world is a strange place. I'm not here to judge. So he said to me during coffee, I know a virgin. I know a virgin. She was certainly not a virgin, okay? Which goes along with her saying she did have a boyfriend before. So anyway, the long and the short of it is that they continued this kind of thing for a few months, this kind of boyfriend-girlfriend thing. He wasn't paying her per el bango, you know what I'm saying? But it was more of a throw some extra money in the old pot every month, you know what I'm saying? So when she got her cash salary, which I believe was the base salary was 4,000 pesos, and he would make it like, he would double it kind of thing. And I forgot to mention that the arrangement was that she only worked 2 weeks a month. And when she went home, and so she would go home for 2 weeks to be with her family, and he lived in Duma. Okay, he lived in Dumaguete for 2 weeks a month. Sometimes she would even invite her family to stay, or certain members of her family to stay at his place while she was gone, because she had her own key. And the guy was totally fine with it. He didn't mind. So anyway, I learned of this story in January 2020. And today she is still with him, and it's the same kind of arrangement, you know. He has even offered to send her to school, and she has declined. So during the pandemic, he was stuck in Duma, and he continued paying her salary and the rent, and she either stayed at the apartment with whichever family member. She wasn't really there alone. She would bring a family member, sibling, and she'd go back and forth from the apartment during the pandemic. But things are today things are back to normal. But basically that was that situation in CDO, and that was the story. That was story number one. Now we're going to get into story number two, and then we're going to get into the conclusion here. This story was in Bohol. It's about 2008-ish, okay? So the guy was he was retired military via disability. Okay, so from the American Army. I'm not sure what his disability was. He seemed fine to me. He was about 50. He was about 50 years old. So prior to arriving in the Phils for his, permanent move, he had met a girl online and flew down, and he set things up for a quiet life in Bohol in the suburbs of Tagbilaran. The girl he met online, she got pregnant in the first few weeks that he arrived, okay? So I do remember he said to me, if a Filipina just thinks about the S, okay, she gets prego, okay? That's what the guy said to me. Anyway, so she was pregnant, but it didn't take the American guy long to realize that he had made a mistake. Basically he jumped into this too quickly. He didn't really like the girl. Okay, so he said that they had always had problems communicating, but he said it was good enough communication to keep things going. I mean, he didn't like her that much, but then he realized that she couldn't even properly speak her own language. For whatever reason, I don't know, maybe I didn't actually meet the wife. So anyway, so the situation is that she is pregnant now with his baby, and the guy, he doesn't really like her. But she is pregnant, so basically he's stuck with her, right? If he's moral enough to stick with her. So he wishes he just flew into Bohol single and took things more naturally. Anyways, the baby's born, and a few years goes by. They're living peacefully, and they get this nanny to help with their living. So the wife can take care of the baby. The nanny takes care of the housework. So the way that the El Bango begins is that whenever the wife goes into the city, she will bring the baby with her. And the guy, he stays home, and also the nanny is there. Nanny's also at home. So I guess the wife didn't really piece things together. So he offered the nanny a deal while they're home alone. Okay, they're home alone, and he just he puts all the cards on the table. He says he makes a deal with the nanny. 500 pesos for El Bango whenever the wife is away. Very simple deal. Now, the nanny was about 30 years old. A single mom. The father of her child was out of the picture. I'm not sure the exact reason. So the nanny takes him up on his offer. She didn't have to. The guy didn't push her. The guy just told her, this is what can happen if you're down. I guess the nanny, she wanted to make some extra bones, and she didn't mind doing it with this American guy, So now this continued for about a year or so, and then the American guy took his wife and son back to Alabama. He got a job at a restaurant, I guess, to supplement his income. He wasn't like one of these 30 years in the Army guy. And he was there for a short time. He got disabled, and then he got sort of this pension. So I don't know how big his pension check was. Anyway, on top of that, I'm not sure the exact reason they went home. Now, the thing is, if I ever had kids in the Phils, right? I would never bring these kids back to my country for like, there's one single reason why. I mean, they're going to have a great life in the Phils. Phils is Disneyland. You know, I'd give anything, personally, I'd give anything to have been raised in the Phils. But unfortunately, I was raised in Vancouver, Canada, so my life sucked. But imagine you're a foreigner or half Filipino and you're being raised in the Phils. Life is going to be good, especially if you're a guy. Okay, let's get into the conclusion of this situation, okay? The issue for the viewer's perspective is that a lot of people, they just can't get it out of their minds that these maids are being taken advantage of. They're being coerced, you know, due to their financial situation. On top of that, the guys are evil pervs. Now, let's put all the cards on the table here, okay? So, yes, the girls are being taken advantage of due to their poor financial status, their poor financial situation. That is true. But that is life. Welcome to the real world, folks. None of us would work if we were all financially well off. I mean, if we were all well off, who would work at McDonald's? Who would serve you coffee at Starbucks? That's just the way the world works. There are people with more money and those with less money. Are those guys pervs? Are these guys pervs? Are these two guys in the two stories, are they pervs? Yes, probably. But are they committing a criminal offense? I mean, no. Okay, well, I mean, welcome to the real world, folks. Like, the world is not a perfect place. The guy has a need. Okay, the guy's got a need. And he sees what is available to fill that need. And the maid is doing the same thing. The maid has a need and she sees what's available and she chooses what she needs to choose to fill that need, which is basically money. Nobody is forced to do anything any more than a McDonald's employee in America is forced to scrape gum, even if they don't want to. In this situation of a third world, it is easy to view it as coercion. But what actually is happening is that the real world forces are at play here. The world is a cruel place. But since a lot of the viewers who are listening right now were raised in the West, the world being a cruel place is the unfathomable phenomenon. Okay, it's just unfathomable. I can't imagine it because I've never seen it. That is the way people are viewing this. Now, if you feel anger toward the guys who are, El Bango the maids, you have to understand that these guys, they didn't make these girls poor. He didn't put them in this bad situation. No, I mean, for that, blame God. God put them in this situation, not these pervs. The girls were put in an unenviable situation. And if you feel sorry for the two maids in this story, just remember that there are billions of people in these kinds of situations. So are you going to feel bad for all of them? If you feel bad for the two girls in this story, that is nice of you. It really is. You are a genuinely kind of person. But what if you were to walk down Walking Street in Angeles City? Would there be a river of tears as you witnessed all these hundreds of girls being forced to work in a bar due to their financial situation, combined with being in a poor country? I mean, if these two stories make you angry or sad, what's it gonna be like during a stroll down Walking Street in Angeles? If these girls weren't maids of these people, these American guys, they would likely be scouted for jobs in Angeles or in the S industry, where they'd likely end up, prosty themselves, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, the high school dropout doesn't have a lot of options, and neither does the 30-year-old single mom. I recommend, if you believe in God, to visit church on Sunday and ask him why he created all these problems. Because you cannot give God credit for the good things in the world and not blame him for the bad things that he created for us. Guys, take off your rose-colored glasses and stop pretending you care. Stop paying lip service to caring while you do nothing to help. And if you do want to help, Why not help the billions of others in the same situation? I know, I understand. It's easy to hate the guy who's banging the maid, okay? Like, I get it. You criticize what they do, I get it. But look at it from another angle, okay? Look at this from another angle. So you have a maid and you pay her 7,000 pesos, okay? The minimum, a little above the minimum maybe, and you treat her well, that's good. Now, you talk to Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton is in the Philippines, let's just say, okay? And she says to you, you only pay her 7,000? You can afford much more than that. You only give her 1 day off a week? Why not give her more time off? Okay, so now we have reversed the criticism. Now you are on the defense, trying to defend your actions on how you treat the maid. This is the same thing you are doing to the two American guys. If you are criticizing the guy, it's no different than what Paris Hilton is doing to you. You want to be on the defense? No, you don't want to be on the defense. Neither do these guys. Let the guy do what he wants to do as long as it's above board, okay? Let the girl do what she needs to do. Let the girl do what she needs to do to survive. Look at the real world guy. Nobody is helping her. Are you helping her? No, you're not helping her. She's doing what she needs to do to help herself. Does the girl really want to work for these guys? I don't know, but I don't pretend that I care. There are too many things to worry about in the world. Too many things to care about. Welcome to the real world. And I think most of you watching are already understanding this, but this real world. But this video was really a response to people in the comment section in Mike's Philippines journey video who they criticized me for being okay with the El Bango of the maid. Now, remember you guys in the comment section there, maybe your mommy drove you home from the hospital after you were born in a Rolls Royce. But most of the world, that's not their reality. Just let people do what they need to do in order to survive. Give them their autonomy. Give them their freedom. I know that this video will be unpopular and will likely get a lot of down votes, down likes, people clicking that I hate this video button. But the objective was to wake people up to the real world. I know there was a lot of people out there who will continue complaining unless the world is a perfect place. And that's fine. I get it. I do get it. But just understand that half the world exists in a different reality that exists in the upper half. Look, these people are left alone to take care of their own survival as the upper half is completely ignorant. They're completely blind to it. So before you judge these, let's call them American bangers, first you should blame yourself for not doing anything to stop the root cause of this poverty that is creating these desperate situations to begin with, guys. So just remember, before you judge, first understand the real world, how the real world works, guys. The world is not a perfect place. These girls are just doing what they got to do to survive. You're not helping them. Nobody's helping them. Are these guys taking advantage of their desperate situation? Yes, but welcome to the real world. You are my friends. Hey, I don't criticize people, but until the next vid, guys. Hey, I'll be pumping out another vid, believe it or not, guys. Until then, adios, my good friends, and I will see you guys on the very next Vitorino.